What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cult Classic Podcast.
And happy Thanksgiving, if we can... Yeah, just happy Thanksgiving.
And if you're a douche, happy Turkey Day. Kind of hate when people say that. We're coming to you a little shorthanded. Cameron Jones here.
Jordan Jones. It's Jordan Jones. Happy Turkey Day. And in true fashion, it's just going to be Cameron and me. It's going to be a little family affair, and I won't see you on real Thanksgiving, but I'll see you for the podcast today.
That's true. We are having a family Thanksgiving here. Unfortunately, Mark's feeling a little under the weather. He just got COVID, so he's going to be out for an episode or two here.
So we say goodbye to all those people that just listened for Mark. We'll see you at Christmas time.
But we're going to be talking about the Thanksgiving movie, as preluded, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Businessman Neal Page is trying to get from New York to his home in Chicago to spend Thanksgiving with his wife and kids. When bad weather strikes and his flight is rerouted to Kansas, he is forced to use every mode of transportation possible to get home. Along the way, he reluctantly teams up with loudmouth Del Griffith, a shower curtain ring salesman who manages to get on his every last nerve. Together, they must overcome the insanity of holiday travel and each other to reach their intended destination. Starring Steve Martin and John Candy. Directed by John Hughes.
So what has it got? Shenanigans. A lot of gripping, real, depressing emotion.
It's one of the very few, if any, Thanksgiving-based movies.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
All right, cast and crew. Directed and written by John Hughes. You would, of course, know 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, teen movies from the 80s.
Pretty in Pink. Also creator of, things he didn't direct, like Home Alone.
I say Home Alone. Let's see. My Uncle Buck's on his top. Weird Science. You should know who John Hughes is if you're listening to this podcast, probably.
Yeah.
Starring Steve Martin. Most recently now, Only Murders in the Building, and rumored his last project, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but they're never going to stop making it. So, a longtime friend and now collaborator with as well, Martin Short.
Every time
bring
I'm
out the
almost
best and worst in each other.
I say Martin Sheen like 60% of the time. I'm trying to say Martin Short.
I know it's happened, and I'm like, I'm very
real
confused because I'm like, it's definitely not a different guy. Famous stand-up comedian in the 70s, went on to irreverent, goofy comedies like The Jerk and Roxanne, and then became everybody's dad in our lifetime.
True.
Now he's everybody's uptight grandpa or something. I don't know.
Nostalgically for me, of course, Three Amigos is one of my favorite. Top known, Roxanne, LA Story, The Jerk, and Pink Panther here. He wasn't Cheaper by the Dozen, right? That's what you were referring to.
Yeah,
before.
Cheaper by the Dozen. Parenthood, obviously a fun one for our family.
Parenthood should definitely make the list. And we should probably do that someday if we haven't, but I think we did.
We have not. Yeah, we could do it.
Early on, maybe. John Candy, also starring John Candy.
The dentist in Little Shop of Horrors, shout out,
Oh, Steve Martin still was like, John Candy was not in Little Shop of Horrors. We also previously mentioned Uncle Buck. Most popular from fun for me, obviously, like Spaceballs and then Cool Runnings as a kid. Both of which I think we've done. Go back and
listen to those episodes. We definitely did Spaceballs and Cool Runnings. Obviously makes a cameo in Home Alone, which I think we did. One of my earlier ones that I saw as a kid, Stripes. Big Stripes fan.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I only keep catching the uncut director's cut version now, and it is the longest movie in the world with that.
Yeah, it's a classic case of great half of a movie, but it continues. That might be number one in the brown. Like, everything through boot camp, chef's kiss. But everything after is like,
you don't like the Spycraft second half?
Takes a bit. Takes a while. Who else? There's a couple fun cameos in here, right?
We'll get to that. Also, Blues Brothers. He famously got his start in Canadian stand-up, and
I don't think he was part of SCTV, was he?
Yeah, because he was with Rick Moranis, and he was part of.
Then he was in SCTV, like their Canadian SNL sketch comedy show.
We do have a lot of cameos in this. Michael McKean, he's come up a lot on the podcast. Clue, Waiting for Guffman, A Mighty Wind. He might not be in Waiting for Guffman, actually. Sorry, A Mighty Wind, Best in Show, the Christopher Guest movies.
Don't forget to listen to our episode on Airheads.
Oh, yeah.
Had a pretty prominent role in that, too.
Andy's in Airheads. But also, of course, Spinal Tap. We did do that episode forever ago. Go back and check that one out. Oh, and he's still, and more recently, Better Call Saul. He's still doing stuff quite a bit. I mean, he pops up now.
He sticks around for sure.
I just have to throw this in here. We'll glance by it, but Kevin Bacon is in the start of this movie. You'll, of course, know him from Tremors. Go back and see our episode on Tremors, but, it's Footloose, Kevin Bacon. We have Dylan Baker in this movie. He's the redneck in the truck with the chew. For us, you will know him as the principal in Trick or Treat.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween that Jordan does all the time. He's also most popular in Happiness, Revolutionary Road, and Selma.
You are actually going to want to stay tuned because he has a small role in Road to Perdition. You're going to want to stay tuned because we talk about that.
I feel like you usually do
He's
see
the
him
accountant.
he's usually a smaller part, kind of like character actor in a movie. But if he pops up more than you think, but I can never exactly name what I know him from.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest,
Except
for me,
for Trick or Treat,
the
honestly,
biggest role I know him from is Trick or Treat. Not to say he hasn't had more prominent, but that's the one. Go back and listen to our Trick or Treat episode.
No, I'm very similar.
If it's not good, at least there's passion behind it. And what more could you ask for?
We have Eddie McClurg in this movie. You'll know her as the secretary from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She's also in Carrie and Wreck-It Ralph. She's the voice of Mary. She's hilarious in, for sure, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And this just seems like a continuation.
I mean, she's one of those people. John Hughes has his crew in a bunch of his movies. She's kind of just a role player in some of his movies. And she leaps off the screen as a character in everything I see her in, always. It's obviously like this type of character, but she really leaps off.
Yeah, it's always hilarious. The last person I have on my list to talk about is a little young Matthew Lawrence was in this as Little Ed, or Little Neal, sorry. We go back and see our episode on Mrs. Doubtfire, Brotherly Love, Boy Meets World. Apparently he's in The Hot Chick. I don't know if
I think all the Lawrence brothers have
him.
a podcast now. I've seen The Hot Chick like when it came out when I was a kid.
I think I passed it.
I am going to call this out, and this is unverified, but it looks like, pretty sure the daughter, the oldest daughter in this movie, of Steve Martin's, is in maybe the best episode of Quantum Leap. I'm pretty sure it's his sister.
You know what?
Yeah.
Now that you say it, you're right.
Yeah, she gets really emotional when he sings Imagine, but damn it, who doesn't? Your older brother's going to die in Vietnam. No, you know how it is.
That's all I had for the cast and crew. It is just a bunch of like bit characters and cameos because, again, it's on the road. It's a travel movie, so you have a lot of stops, a lot of characters along the way.
What's absolutely great about this is, though, we pretty much named all the people who see on the screen. It's primarily just a two-person film, which is what's fun about an on-the-road thing. Can they carry it? Can they not? All right. Let's get on to Unverified. Cameron's nipping at the bits to tell you what.
Moving on to Unverified. Welcome to the Cult Classic Movie Phone. It's November 25th, 1987, and currently in theaters you could have seen The Nest, The Last Emperor, Moonstruck,
Snap out of it.
The Secret Garden, Three Men and a Baby. There's a ghost in that movie. Flowers in the Attic, Teen Wolf 2, which I didn't know was spelled T-O-O. I thought it was a... He's also a teen wolf. Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Running Man, a movie we might do someday. But you chose Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I've not seen a lot of those movies that you listed, actually.
I at least know of all of them. Moonstruck, Secret Garden. You've seen Three Men and a Baby.
Yeah, it haunts me to the day. You want to talk about a movie that has to do with heroin at the beginning of it? That's Three Men and a Baby.
Sure, it sure is.
All right, you're going to wonder, was this a success? Was it a hit?
Holiday movie based on a holiday, I'm guessing, yeah, but late release, November 25th.
November 25th, but I mean, that's a perfect time when people used to go to holiday movies. True. You got two mega comedians of the time and, a well-known actor-director. Mm-hmm. $15 million, $50 million box office. The caveat is, I think what...
$15 million budget, 50 box office?
Yeah, $15 million budget, $50 million box office, but... I think what you kind of took away from it is you lost the family aspect that probably could have made it $70 to $100 million because it's a rated R movie.
That's true. That is the one thing let's get into that right off the bat. The marathon car rental scene is exactly 1 minute long. And from the time Steve Martin starts his tirade to the attendant, he says the F word is used 19 times. The film would have been rated PG or PG-13, but the MPAA would not let that one go.
Yeah.
Bold, just take that one thing. Like, he could have just done anything else, like still have a tirade.
I actually think, given the time, he could have built up to one F word and they would have allowed it.
I agree with that,
PG
too.
movie still.
I agree with that too.
For what it's worth, I love it. I didn't know it was coming the first time I saw it, and I'm in. Until I saw that, I'm like, I guess this is rated R, right? It's got to be.
They forced their hand. They had to be.
Hey, if that's the cross you guys want to die on, $50 million, that isn't too bad. You guys made like $35 million.
It's famously what got Steve Martin on board with this part. He liked that scene.
Yeah, he read the script. He's like, I'll do it because I love that scene. And then he made a suggestion, but we will edit some of the script. And it turns out that the camera's got a million facts coming up that didn't. But to go on to... as part of the notorious car rental scene, the actress that plays the attendee, Eddie McClurg, John Hughes said to her, "Hey, just wing it at the beginning when you're on the phone because I don't have anything scripted." And when she was talking, she's like, "I'll bring something, gobble gobble," like that part. Mm-hmm. He's like, "How did you come up with that?" He's like, "Well," she goes, "That's just how I would talk to my sister."
And he's like, "Man, Thanksgiving movie," and
it's the Thanksgiving movie.
It's pretty straightforward, John Hughes.
From all of my research, which is none to very little to none, he was quite impressed by that. Quite a taken back.
Just a little throwaway fact for you. The exterior of their aircraft at the beginning, the 707, is the same stock footage that they used in Airplane, 1980.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got reused a little bit. This is crazy to me. Paramount executives were very angry about this. What was the budget again? 15 mil?
15 mil.
The entire house that Steve Martin's family was in was a built from scratch set consisting of 7 rooms that took 5 months to complete, costing $100,000.
Especially since it's in the movie for 10 seconds.
Yeah, it does not matter at all. They could have gotten any location to shoot those scenes of them looking forlorn and waiting.
Was that just the interior or as well the exterior?
It had to be the interior because they said in 7 rooms, unless they literally built a house. But
no, so they're just saying.
Well, no, because actually
they spent way too much on the sets. The house is like somewhere else, right?
Well, yeah, because the house is actually in a suburb like 20 minutes away from the Home Alone house. John Hughes used a similar scouting area in the Illinois area.
When I rewatched this, there was quite debate between the two people watching in the room. Is that the Home Alone house? And I'm like, absolutely not. But it does look very similar.
But it's very similar because it's the exact same local area.
Well, I mean, it looks like 1/3 of the Home Alone house, or like 1/2, essentially. Yeah, that's true. It's just
similar,
it's just not quite as
similar,
big.
Just a little littler. The main thing I do want to talk about here is I have issues with the film that I'll get to later. But here's kind of, I think, the causation as to why. The original cut of the movie was 3 hours and 40 minutes. John Hughes edited it down to 2 hours, and that was the version they test screened. And then he used a lot of the stuff he cut from his like 2-hour theatrical or like test release for like the theatrical trailer. So most people are always like, "Oh, what happened to all those scenes?" It's part of like 2 extra hours of footage. The movie was edited again down to the 1:33 minute for the theatrical release, and according to Hirsch, the 2-hour version still exists somewhere, but he doesn't know where he put it. It's lost.
I mean, I'd be interested to see what it would add. I'm guessing it's just a bunch of side stories that don't matter.
I have a little bit for you here, actually. So in the 3-hour cut of the film, the Braidwood Inn sequence was much longer. The part where they're at the hotel at the beginning. So Dell ordered pizza and a 6-pack of beer. He takes monies out of Neal's wallet, which is mentioned later in dialogue in the film when he's accusing him of stuff, and that's a little confusing. He only gives the delivery boy a $1 tip in this scene. And
so he comes back. That's
who robs them. So it's a causation to kind of that whole thing.
Well, that would clear it up because it is kind of confusing when I'm like, where did this guy come from? Where did this kid come from?
Yeah, that part's a little weird. And then also like just some other things missing from that scene. Like Dell opens up some of the beers and it sprays all over Neal's part of the mattress, which is why he's like, and I'm laying in all this beer, which is kind of unexplained, but you assume something,
I assume one of their relatives died, and that's why the family and the homestead was so somber the whole time, right? Not just because their dad was running late.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. They had a lot going on. They were still going to school and stuff.
All right,
Christmas break.
Well, one thing that did not get cut was Kevin Bacon's role, and I wondered to myself, and you must wonder to yourself,
what's he doing there?
Was it Kevin Bacon a cameo or was it a role? So the story behind it is following this movie's from 1987, I believe, right?
Yep.
And then he did a movie, Kevin Bacon did a movie with John Hughes the following year, She's Having a Baby.
Okay.
So even though this movie predated She's Having a Baby, John Hughes himself knew that is his character, and he's just crossed over into my movie. Whether that's true or not, that's the talk behind it.
Oh, well,
it wasn't a cameo. He already knew he was working with Kevin Bacon, and he included him in it.
I like a little universe crossing if it's like the same company,
I like the crossover, even if it's not true.
Yeah.
Lie to me. I'm fine with
Yeah,
lie.
I'm fine
A little
with
white
that.
lie can't hurt anybody.
This is kind of a little heartwarming fact for you, and somewhat how I feel about viewing the film. Roger Ebert gave this movie 3.5 out of 4 stars in his original review in 1987, but he did a follow-up review in 2000, and he gave it a 4 out of 4, including it in his great movies list that he watches every Thanksgiving now.
It's the only fucking one. Well, I think what happened is, as time goes on after John Candy passed away, like this becomes with a lot of his roles, much more endearing. Like, oh, he's gone. He lost him, and he was so warm and larger than life. So I assume that aged better as he passed away.
I mean, that's true.
You kind of miss him. He's a happy guy. He's a sad guy. He kind of brings all those things together.
Steve Martin says, well, he was a very sweet guy. Very, very sweet and complicated. And so he was always friendly, always outgoing, funny and nice and polite. But I could tell he had a little broken heart inside of him. That's sad.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve Martin.
Thanks, Steve Martin.
The last fact I have here that I want to talk about, and I will talk about this in a second in the next category, but the snow, you can tell, is real in most of this movie.
I would agree, yeah.
So the cast and crew traveled from the Midwest to the East Coast and back in search of snow for many scenes, which seemed to melt away whenever they would arrive. According to the people on board the production, the shoot was hellish, and according to some who worked in it, John Hughes was grumpy and he was going through rough times anyway, so it was kind of not a fun film to be making for the crew.
You can tell, though, it's real melting snow. It's not movie snow. That's just dirty Wichita
It's just
snow.
dirty snow, and it's better for it.
The entire show was supposed to be shot in Chicago, just wasn't enough snow. They're like, we don't leave Illinois, at least for production, but they went and chased the snow and had varying degrees of success.
Ran up the bill for Paramount. Well, with that, let us know if you found any other fun facts on this movie. There was quite a big list. It's a huge writer-director, 2 big stars. So, there's always a lot of fun lore and stuff when those all get together.
To piggyback off Roger Ebert, I think it's the only Thanksgiving movie set like around Thanksgiving.
The only one I can think of. Well, with that, I think we're going to move it on to questions.
Comments.
Animosities.
Questions, comments, animosity.
Welcome back to QCA. Before we get too nitpicky, I do just want to talk kind of like larger on the movie as a whole. I didn't like it that much the first time I watched it, but I do think part of that is I kind of am not a big fan of the uncomfortable humor movies where it's just like someone annoying someone, a Meet the Fockers, just like uncomfortable situations. Those have never been exactly my cup of tea. And to some extent, like pranky movies, aside from Jackass and Bad Grandpa.
I didn't like Jackass growing up, but like as I've aged with them, I'm nostalgic for something I didn't like as a kid.
Right.
Because I don't like seeing people get hurt, but I get what you're saying. Okay, do you like it more now, though?
I have in other watchings, but I think part of that is because it does have good dramatic performances. There is still like a nice, heartwarming kind of message, even though
it's very melancholy.
Yeah.
And it's super sad at points.
Yeah, which is why, honestly, when we recommended it, it was kind of hard for me to want to start because I was like, this is going to be, I know now, a bit of a downer watching it with the pretense knowing what John Candy's character is actually going through.
So I had similar reactions the first time I saw it. This is still not like my favorite movie or holiday movie, but I really enjoy that it's set at Thanksgiving. If this was a Christmas movie, it'd be like a middle of the road run, right? You know, with potential to be there. But what I quite enjoyed a lot this time, John Candy's really effing funny in this movie.
Yeah, he is.
Like, he just jumps off the screen. Hilarious. Like, take away all the sad point. I think Steve Martin does good, and he gets to flex his muscles in the car rental scene. But essentially, he's just an irritated, like, straight man character. Yeah. But John Candy really just pops off the screen, and I enjoyed it for watching. Just let him rip, scene to scene. Maybe the whole movie doesn't work as a whole, but it's worth the watch for him, because I feel like out of most of the movies he's in that I've watched, aside for Uncle Buck, which I haven't seen, he's not the lead in a lot of movies. He's really just like
that's true.
A strong supporting role. And I feel like this one, he borderline gets to be the lead in most of it. And I know there's probably a lot that he is.
Sure. But
out of the movies I know him from, he's a strong supporting character. I think Uncle Buck's probably his biggest, like,
standalone movie,
right?
Yeah. Well, one more thing I kind of just want to talk about the movie and why I think there might be some problems with it is because it was such a long movie and so much was edited. The editing itself feels jumpy sometimes. Like, we just cut from scene to scene and it feels a little just unconnected. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not quite cohesive, and I was trying to figure out, it's not like the acting that isn't cohesive, it's the story itself. Yeah, it just seems like here's a scene, here's a scene, here's a scene.
And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that they had to cut so much in editing, that like they just shot so much film that like it feels a little disjointed. Like, we know we're missing explanation for some scenes and some plot points, and then just building, I mean, then just the transitions itself suffer, I think, because of it.
I don't want to over harp on this because I know that people listen to this. If you've seen it, you're probably a fan of it. So, like, I'm not going to do this the whole time, but I think what it lacks is they're the odd couple, right? They're at ends. They're in a sticky situation, so they don't have to be friends. And I think it takes too long for them in any way to bond. It's like Steve kind of Martin never turns the corner. Like, his character, and I get it, he should be annoyed, right? But it's too contagious, confrontational the whole time.
No, I kind of agree with you. But again, now watching this for, like, I don't know, maybe the third time, I did enjoy it more, especially the end, the turn at the end, except for the ending itself. I hate a freeze frame, kind of, but
the actual last scene in the house, I don't care for.
No, I
don't get it. Everybody's emotion, and listen to all you young people out there. That's what it would be like if you missed your flight, because they only had 2 payphone calls the whole time.
Yeah, you're screwed back then.
You just don't know if your family member's alive or where the heck they are. And then they get home on Thanksgiving. And it's like, thank God.
Okay, so let's just take this back now to the movie itself. Just question to you: at the beginning, when his friend's like, "You're never gonna catch the 6," do you try to rush it, or do you try to play it like maybe his coworker did and casually made his way back the next day, taking something else?
In the moment, you're gonna try to catch it, right?
You got to get back.
But here's what I've learned. Maybe you can get it just the next day. Although it was over the holidays, right? Because Thanksgiving was 2 days away. So, I think you got to try to get the flight.
Doesn't it seem like they were on the road for at least a week?
Well, that's another thing. Time kind of stands still in this movie. I think we need more like checkpoints.
I just know because of editing that's
they had them.
They did at at the point where they get pulled over by Michael McKean. They had passed Chicago and they were in Wisconsin, and they had to cut that and actually do reshoots. So if you watch that, you'll see the background get grayer and lighter because they had to cut that whole plot point out because they thought it would be too confusing. So technically, by that point, when they're in the burnt car, they'd already shot past their destination by a few hours.
Oh, they just missed their exit and ended up in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I missed that.
That's not explained whatsoever. It was cut from the plot.
All right. Well, so there's an extended cut that's coming out eventually someday.
If they ever find it, wherever that went.
I will say this about the first time. I really put myself in the taxi scenario because, I lived in Chicago for enough years before Uber was super prevalent that I did have to get taxis. Mm-hmm. And I only have 2 really long horror stories. One was the St. Patty's Day. One was a New Year's Eve where I just could not get a taxi. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to get this. I was entertaining people and I'm like, there's a taxi coming, guys. Don't worry about it. And I looked like a buffoon. Have you yourself ever had that situation?
No, I've almost always been anally prepared to get wherever I'm going.
But to get a taxi?
Uh,
If you were like, I'll grab a taxi.
I've really never had to take too many taxis. I was kind of more like, I moved to the city more like when the Uber age was starting. But I actually also just am good at getting taxis. I'm just tall. I'm a big target, and if you keep your arm up the entire time, I get got. I just do. I'm not bragging. It's just
Cameron. I was standing in the middle of the street, like James Earl Jones saw what, Ray? Like I was looking at taxis. All right, it's not like it was for lack of effort. I was practically.
No, I get it. I'm just saying. Oddly, taxis are attracted to me for some reason. They come my way.
John Candy, do you think he stole the taxi, or do you think it was just opportunistic Mr. Magoo shit?
I mean, just judging by his character the entire movie, he's a well-meaning buffoon. He's super annoying. My next comment was just going to be, John Candy's character is a nightmare. Like everything the bathroom at the hotel, he's a terrible person. Having said that, I learned a valuable message at the end of this movie. I think I'm Steve Martin.
I definitely relate much more with Steve Martin in this situation.
Well, yeah. Well, I would never get into the situation. Like, if I was like, I would never be staying and traveling with John Candy at the airport when he was like telling me stuff. I'd be like,
you just stay at the airport.
Yeah, I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna wait out here to get the next thing out of here because I don't want to be.
Yeah,
here.
I'm gonna get out of here tomorrow. I'm gonna stay at the airport, and that's another big example. Obviously, I don't know how big Wichita is, but I assume it's probably in the 100,000s. Mm-hmm. There's hotels somewhere. It's just hard to find them because, you didn't know how to get there.
Maybe not
you had to go
right
to
next to the airport. You're going to have to get maybe on the other side.
No, probably not in a city that big. But I'm just saying, even though it would have sucked, I would have stayed in the airport for the night, been home tomorrow.
Yeah, then you avoid this entire scenario.
Oh, just for the record, I think John Candy was fair game. If two people are bickering,
okay,
load your trunk, get in the taxi, get the hell out.
I'm just saying, I think it was buffoonery. He didn't notice. He's just he's an asshole. He's a well-meaning asshole. Just question to make this a little more fun. Instead of John Candy's family being dead and it'd be really sad, what if we just made him an angel?
Oh,
Steve
yeah,
Martin
you can do that.
learned a valuable Thanksgiving lesson about being.
Then it's a Christmas movie.
Well,
then we've moved from Thanksgiving to Christmas.
No, we're learning Thanksgiving lessons, Jordan. You don't think angels are around helping all the time? They're in the goddamn outfield.
Yeah, but they're taking off Thanksgiving because they got a busy month coming up in December. They're not working November, Cameron. They're like, we got a lot to do. There's a lot of people jumping off bridges and trying to kill themselves in December. You know what I mean? If the worst that happens is you got to sleep with a stranger in a shitty hotel room, we're gonna take it off this week. You know what I mean?
Oh, go check out that new Thanksgiving scary movie in theaters. I think called Thanksgiving.
Do you have a favorite? Okay. On the road movies in a whole, I don't know them all too deeply. Stay tuned. Maybe this is coming up in a little bit of Mount Rushmore. Maybe not. I don't know.
It is.
But what I think I think this movie, even though it's only an hour and a half, there's like one too many scenarios
stops
where they
along
get
the
stuck.
way.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
we need like one less stop, I think.
No, I'd kind of agree with you. I mean, it goes back to the editing issue again. I feel like Steve Martin did say initially to John Hughes, so we're going to cut the script drastically, right? I think if that would have happened, it would be a better movie for it. If we would have tightened up some of those transitions and the stops along the way.
Do you have a favorite John Candy bit? I have
it's kind of when he's just like on the airplane getting like the morale together with everybody, and in the bus he has another, like when he's singing the Flintstones, and it's those moments. I can't think particularly off the top of my head like the lines, but
I love in the air, like the initial airplane ride. When he's taking off his socks, and it's so annoying, but he's like, these dogs are barking. That's great. And then obviously the mess around when he's driving.
That's fun.
And stuck in it's just a good gag.
But I do have a lot of issues with that. Like just at any point you're stuck, just hit the brakes, tap the brakes, slow down, then fix the situation.
Oh yeah, that was wildly avoidable. Do you want to know what makes me most mad about that whole scenario? Mm-hmm. It's not that they get turned around. It's not that they go the wrong way. It's not that they crash. It's that the cigarette wouldn't still be lit 40 minutes after you throw it.
In fact, I think we didn't even have as much, like now they have never mind. Now they have things that put it out, I think, after a little bit. Never mind, scratch that. It wouldn't catch on that leather either. It would just smolder and go out.
Even if it was vinyl, if it sat there for that long, it's not gonna.
I don't think it's gonna do it. I do have a comment, a little bit of an animosity about the music in this movie. I feel like the score is a little heavy sometimes, and just also odd musical choices.
I wrote down bad.
Yeah,
it's the synthesize the dramatic synth really takes you out of a lot of scenarios.
I do have a little fact on this. I forget who the other artist was, but I'm pretty sure it was like Elton John and somebody else were commissioned to write original songs for it.
And they just didn't?
Well, no, it came down to like they were flying out the next day to record. It was the song's written, it was just never recorded because they got in a dispute between the label and Paramount because Paramount said they would own the rights to the track after, and it was against Elton's, and I forget who the other artist was. Their contract and their musical rights, so they just cut it. And what's the song at the end of the movie that they play to the freeze frame?
Every time you go,
they just got the rights to that
away.
and said to save some money, and they brought someone in to do the score we're complaining about.
They really slow rolled it though at the end. You're like, is it? Is that every time he goes away? There it is.
You know it is because we spent $50,000 on it. Damn it! I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like the lyrics only come in right before the hug and the freeze frame.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
We're maybe getting ahead of ourselves, but I want to talk about the end of the movie, and an overlying question, right? About John Candy's character. He is literally homeless, or figuratively?
I think more figuratively that he hasn't been home in years because he has there's no home to go to.
Did he not go? I get like his wife is dead, but is there literally no house or structure?
I don't think that.
I'm confused.
I don't think that as much because he's a traveling businessman. Like he works for a company. I mean, he has some sort of stability. I think he's just saying like, my home was destroyed. I have nothing to go to.
Yeah, but I'm actually wondering if he literally is homeless because I can't tell. It confuses me at the end, and I'm taking it quite literally. He's homeless, and then on top of that,
judging by his bathroom behavior in the hotel, it is leaning towards that way a little, I guess.
Well, and he takes his whole life with him with the trunk.
Yeah, I always kind of thought that was a little more like
figuratively.
Yes, but like his family, maybe keepsakes, like picture. I guess we never really see anything, do we? No.
Oh, I just assumed.
I guess that could go either way for me, but I took it to be figuratively, not like a literal. I have no home.
Okay, so say
but it could go either way.
Say he is literally homeless. What's he going to Chicago for? What's he going anywhere for? Just that got to hit the road, got to make the sales.
To sell more rings, man. Some more shower curtain rings. Get out of there. Go to Baltimore. See what that's like.
I've got a comment in general. I've never really smoked cigarettes. I wasn't a smoker. But when I watch a movie like this, I'm like, I wish I could take a flight, have a weird meal, and smoke a cigarette. Just let it rip.
Especially when everyone's dangling out of their mouths like casually and coolly like that, and they just don't seem to mind the smoke rolling up their nose. Never was able to do that. Didn't like it.
Something changed in the late 70s, and this sweet spot of like 83 to 88 doesn't seem like you need fingies. Don't need the fingers.
Nah, your lips are holding it for you, baby.
And eventually, once you light the first one, all you got to do is just suck the other one in, and it's just a continuous dangling cigarette.
One flame, you can finish that pack.
Yeah, the problem is you're going to need another one on that flight, though, because, you breathe so much on a flight in compressed air.
Just kind of a comment. It's interesting now watching this movie with just knowing John Candy's kind of plot point and then the turn to come. I feel like it does. You do catch a lot more subtleties maybe in his performance, especially kind of in the harsh moments between him and Steve Martin. It's what kind of makes me like the movie the more I watch it, is just kind of, I don't know, catching more nuances in their performance, in his performance specifically.
You mean like the depth and complexity that he can act?
Yeah.
To play sad?
Yeah. He's a good actor, man.
I wouldn't say this about all comedians, right? I feel like you can go. I think a lot of the talented comedians can do. No, that's not true. I think there are talented comedic actors that can play dramatic, sad moments. On the flip side, I think it's a lot easier for any comedian to play the straight man, or most comedians to play the straight man, like Steve Martin's playing. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I would agree. Just comment. Let me know what you feel about this, but I feel like this movie isn't overly funny, but it does have some big emotions every once in a while. I feel like it's an 80s Family Stone. It just makes me feel a little uncomfortable. What do you think?
I thought that a lot. I see your similarities, and I thought I'd have to combat this. The difference is there's no funny moments in the Family Stone. There's one funny moment in the Family Stone.
Mr. Stone? Is it that?
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, this has actually got really funny moments by really good comedians. There is a lot of melancholy and boredom in the travel part of it. The family still.
Hey, but that's Thanksgiving for you.
And I think I think I should point out here, and this is no bash at Steve Martin, because I think we both think he's really talented and he plays his part well. I just think
and I believe a hell of a banjo too.
Yeah, I'm saying that I think they wrote his role.
Yeah, as the straight man, as like, I mean, there's less to do with that other than be annoying. I mean,
but too perturbed. He didn't like turn they didn't have him turn the corner enough, because he's silly and goofy, and they could have done a little bit. I know their big bonding scene is when they get drunk, and they share snacks or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's
like their only bonding scene, and then a little bit in the car, right? Obviously, there's other movies, and I'm going to compare this one in particular, Tommy Boy, and this may come up a little bit later in our Mount Rushmore. I feel like they let the two characters bond a lot quicker, and it's more enjoyable for the audience.
No, I 100% agree with that.
Whereas these two butt heads,
and again, it could be a casualty of editing and just shit on the floor. You know, they might have just had to snip some stuff at the end. I do want to talk about that turn though, because I don't know if it's an animosity, but that train montage for some reason feels like a teen movie, and Steve Martin just realized that chick with the glasses is actually pretty hot.
Wait, what part?
Just when he's like realizing all those moments that John Candy was kind of hinting.
I
just felt like a teen movie montage.
Sorry, you're saying on the CTA, not when the train breaks down.
No.
Yeah.
When he's like going on the way home and he's piecing together all the things John Candy said, and he's like, wait a minute, if she just lets her ponytail down.
I actually have an unverified about that. It wasn't scripted to be like that. But in between takes, John Hughes let the camera run.
Yeah.
And Steve Martin was laughing to himself, trying to remember his lines.
Interesting.
So they just used it because John Hughes liked it, because it is weird, right? He's like, oh, yeah. However, though...
It feels odd. It feels like they're falling in love, or he's falling in love.
He's like, oh, yeah, she's been there the whole time. But you know what he's really figuring out, Cameron, which I have no idea.
Dead.
John Candy's whole wife is dead, and he may be literally or figuratively homeless, and I don't know how he put that together.
I have no idea either. Pretty vague hints along the way.
Do you want a logistical animosity that I have just knowing Chicago? Yeah. They're at like the Blue Line Van Buren stop. They were getting dropped off by a truck driver. I don't know where the truck driver is going, but it seems like
it would not be down to like in that high populated area. It's hard to move a big truck through. Yeah,
or if he's going to the suburbs, just drop him off at his Metro line somewhere. Like,
yeah, there would be stops along the way, or any of those, like any of the Blue Line stops along the way coming into the city that could probably get him to a Metro quicker too. I mean,
yeah, he's gonna have a hell of a time getting home still.
Yeah, I did kind of think about that, and also people did complain that technically the view going into Chicago would be from the wrong side, but that's with the plot point that they already passed Chicago. Just again, throwaway, like you can tell the snow's real. It's brown, it's dirty, it's slushy. There's like maybe a spot or two where it's clearly fake, like in the car scene when Dell's falling asleep in the parking lot. But other than that, it's pretty real snow.
But I think the two of us can agree, and all three of us have talked about it when we do holiday movies. You can tell when, even when they have really, really good effects for the snow, you can tell when the actors are
cold
in parkas. But you can tell when they're hot.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
They're like sweating. Like, Jesus, that looks rough. These guys look cold.
Yeah, looks
because I think it is.
The only movie that I think has done it better is Just Friends. Everybody looks freezing, and you can always see their breath.
I believe they shot that like deep in Canada.
Yeah, they did.
Right?
We have facts on how cold that was, I believe. But
go back and listen to our Just Friends.
John Candy, again, inconsiderate, kind of an asshole, well-meaning, but he is also a shifty con man. He's tricking a bunch of people to use shower curtain rings as earrings, bracelets, like
out of necessity.
Yeah, but he's kind of a shifty con. He's a bit of a snake oil salesman at the same time.
Well,
so
yeah,
there are a ton of unlikable things about him, and if he is an angel, like I want to theorize, he's not a good angel.
So I think what happens is the character is unlikable, but John Candy is. So that's what gives it the pass, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, also just question about train protocol. Let's say I'm taking a fun train travel and it breaks down in the middle of the field. Did they just get you out in the field and say, walk 2 miles that way? They got to bring a bus or something, right? Like you stay on the train for safety.
Or the next train, right?
Yeah, something. I mean, I don't think they just make you walk and be like, well, you're fucked. Sorry.
Well, that brings me up to, and this can be highlighted during the walk through the field to the bus.
Mm-hmm.
You catch Steve Martin's shoes?
They were, I can't remember why. I remember thinking you don't want to walk through that
They were
field.
like wicker type leather loafers. And I know the argument is going to be like, oh, he was just going to business meeting from the hotel to the business meeting to the airport.
It's still winter.
But still, it's on the way to the winter from New York to Chicago, and
Yeah.
it really pisses me off.
Yeah, it's a
I
bad
assume
call.
it's intentional, right? We get to see it. We get to be annoyed, but
I guess, yeah. But yeah, that's a bad call. It's seasonally off. You don't do that.
do you know what part of the movie I actually strongly relate with? I've never found myself in this situation, but when he's walking back from the rental car place,
Oh, good. I just wanted to talk about this. Yeah.
when he's walking back from the rental car place to the airport, when he's sliding down the what appears to be
That ramp, it looks
the
like he
causeway-
really took a fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't found myself in that exact situation, but it's relatable to be like, I shouldn't be walking here.
Yeah, I did have an animosity that like there had to be a safer way to get back. Like he walked on the tarmac. He was just down the
Oh,
runway.
that's dumb. Yeah, he couldn't have been done. Safest way would have just been wait for the next shuttle.
Yeah, just wait for the next person to come out. They'll
And this
they'll
is
get
the
you
problem
a
with-
car probably.
This is the problem with all I'm stuck in trap. Be patient. Wait for the next thing, and you'll probably get there. Never go off on the swear at somebody tangent.
No, it's never going to work out in your favor. It's going to get you kicked out of the airport.
It is going to get you kicked out of the
It's
airport.
going to get you arrested now. Why would animosity? Why would you throw away the rental agreement? Like that, you need that to prove that they screwed you over. Like he's a businessman. You need contracts.
He's had a rough go.
He's making it rougher on himself, though. I think some of the problems are Neal or Ned. They're Neal.
I think a lot of the problems are Neal, and that
No, a lot of them are John Candy. He's gross. He takes off his shoes. He fucked up the bathroom. He destroyed a car. He put his life in danger a couple times. There's definitely problems with him too.
okay. Most of them are him, but Neal's he's prickly and unlikable.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't be prickly and unlikable. Although you know what I do like? I like the fedora. I don't know if people were really doing that in the 80s or if it was just for the movie, but
Anytime I
it's not coming back.
I love
it's probably
watching
not coming
70s, 80s when I mean obviously older too. When you get the full winter like suit, coat, and jacket. Oh, yeah. I wish I could do it, but I work from home and wear athleisure wear.
You could do it, but everybody like that guy is a pervert. If you wore a full suit and an overcoat to like go do whatever you're doing outside, people are like, I don't trust you around my kids. I don't trust you around anybody. I don't trust you around adults.
I get it.
Let me see your lampshades. Are those skin? They're skin.
I don't know if this is a like or not, but I've never seen so much articulation out of a car seat than when Dell is maneuvering around in the car before it catches fire.
Yeah, it's weird though, because at that point in their journey, that no matter what it was, if you could just lean back a little, it'd be the most comfortable thing you've been on for 2 days.
Oh, 100%. And it's just it's so infuriating that like really that should have taken more than like what, 5 hours maybe?
Well, yeah, if they were they got the car in St. Louis
Yeah.
to Chicago, I think that's probably like, 4 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah, and then at that point in the movie, I think we have like what feels like at least one whole other day.
I feel nothing for him and his family at the end.
Who, Steve Martin?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care about any of you guys. I'm not heartwarmed.
Overly emotional with her crying and stuff, and it's too heartwarming, and it feels uncomfortable
feels like-
that Dell's there.
It's going to feel way more uncomfortable if you continue the story, because he may or may not be actually homeless, Cameron. But even if he does have a home somewhere, he's not leaving for a bit.
No, he's pretty attached now to Neal. Animosity. That car was on fire. You would not be able to drive it. I just don't. It's totaled. I don't think they'd be on the road at all. Granted,
No, they love
part of the joke, fun. I get why,
Sure.
but
Cops did the right thing.
he
Cops did the
right thing there. He really
He
did.
He did absolutely. We can't let you drive that.
I got another thing to list on the animosities for Dell kind of being a dick. He not only just ruined him with that car rental and destroying the car, but he drove that same car through a hotel and then just drove off and caused so much damage.
Yeah,
He ruined that guy's weekend too. He's ruining so many people's.
That guy got fired. I guess the biggest sticky finger thing is Dell charged his. He stole his. He didn't.
Well, we
Whether or not he stole his credit card, he charged the rental car to it.
and well, we do know he took money from his wallet previously, but that was cut from the movie. So it does seem like he was stealing from him too along the way and using him for accommodations. Like he ended up also Neal also ended up paying for like the hotel and like pretty much everything along the way, except for
Neal paid for everything.
Except for, like,
yeah, so he
except
took
for that
advantage.
dinner and maybe a few other things.
Oh, the one dinner when he sold all his rings to
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, one last sneaky little funny thing. After Steve Martin's character gets punched out by the taxi guy, I did not anticipate him getting grabbed by the balls and picked up. Didn't see that coming at all. That really caught me off guard.
Gee, I've never seen anyone get picked up like by the groin like that.
Oh, there's actually a really funny line when after Steve Martin tells off John Candy's character, he's like, I like me for me. But then they come back to the conversation and then he goes, you know what? There's things that I don't like about you. And then Steve Martin goes, name one. He's like, you fondle your balls all the time.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't.
No, I don't. He's like, yeah, I don't like the way you do it. You just grab your nuts all the time. And it makes me feel uncomfortable. I didn't see that happening. And it was funny. And he's like, oh, yeah, what would you like? 2 more balls and another set of hands. That's I don't know what's scripted and what's not. I assume it's all pretty scripted. But that caught me off guard in a good way.
And again, we get, of course, a little nitpicky in this category because that's what it's here for. But overall, I'm growing to like the movie more and more as I see it. Again, John Candy is very funny in it. Those emotional.
Well, then we will compare that to the Family Stone category, Cameron. Put that one up there. And you know what? It's supply and demand. There's not much Thanksgiving out there. Do you know what makes this movie a Thanksgiving movie?
What's that?
At the beginning, it says 2 days before Thanksgiving, and that's it. And that's like a lot of Christmas movies. All you got to do is set it around the time.
That's true. The funnier parts I'm appreciating more. The emotional parts are nicer. John Candy's performance. It wasn't a great first watch for me. And I still do think it has some issues with editing and the transitions, and it could be tighter. But I like it. Overall, I like it.
I like it for the John Candy aspect. I appreciate that it's a Thanksgiving movie. And as I probably talked about too much, there's just not many of them, you know?
It's true.
Let's just take our lower half Christmas movies and just say it's around Thanksgiving.
In fact, most Christmas movies are just like the weeks leading up to Christmas and the finale's on. It all worked out.
Yeah, that's, most Christmas movies. If you enjoy it for what it is rather than what it's not, I think you'll like the movie quite a bit better.
True. That's true. Let us know if there's anything else you thought we should have mentioned, and here are some of your favorite parts in the movie. You can hit us up on social media, but we're going to move it on to recasting. Recasting. In my mind, this is pretty much a 2-person movie. There are a lot of cameos from people we know. So I guess just, do you have any of those smaller characters? Because I only did Steve Martin and I only did Neal and Del.
This is pretty much a 2-man pony, but I said it to myself when I was watching it. The redneck guy who drives him in his pickup truck, Chris Elliott, let it rip. Let it ride. Maybe extend the scene a little bit for him. I don't know.
Okay.
Although I did like our one guy that's in Trick or Treat, but that one did.
It was a fun surprise seeing him.
Yeah, you can't, like, that guy has
a distinct face.
So he really jumped off the screen, even though he does look quite a bit younger than I'm used to seeing.
I didn't have anyone else, but if I were to, I would have said it would have been the airline receptionist, the redneck, and then
the cop.
The cop, yeah. Those are probably the main
Those
ones.
are like your 3.
Did you have anyone else of the supporting cast there?
No, he just jumped off the screen. I'm sure we could come up with the other 2, but that one spoke to me.
Okay. Let's start it off with Del. I have 2 here, but I think I'm going to start it off with Rick Ducommun. You'll know him from The Burbs. Go back and see that episode. He's also in Spaceballs. They beat the shit out of us too. He's that security guard. You may also know him as the dad in the first Scary Movie, maybe the second one. Passed away a while back, but I'm not sure if he could do the emotional parts well, but he's a funny guy. I feel like he could be a fun, annoying character.
So the big question is, did it have to be somebody that was overweight? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I didn't go that route. So I picked Bill Murray.
Okay.
You've got instances like What About Bob? You got Burnout's kind of annoying guys like Stripes. Obviously, he can play a traveling salesman. Mm-hmm. And I think, given the right scenario, there could be some depressing, warm-hearted moments.
Well, I can just tell you right now, he was approached for the role. I do have that down as a what if.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Other people will go to what ifs after.
I'm throwing a wild card at you, but Robin Williams, He could be annoying
Okay.
and spastic and all over the place, but then when those heavy moments hit, he would knock it out of the park.
Robin Williams is obviously our go-to comedian with a sad heart of gold. He works in most of these. So yeah, I thought about that. And there's another somewhat on the road movie where he sort of plays this type of character. No, him and Billy Crystal, like father.
So he has 2 on the road movies, you're telling me.
I mean, he might have 3, but essentially Billy Crystal's a straight man. Robin Williams is like the more eccentric. But I get sad, and I'm a person.
Yeah, he would work great in this. Anybody else for other options?
I mean, I had tons. I could have gone the Jack Black route. You're schlub,
Sure.
To me, too much energy, not enough.
I'll throw a wild
whatever.
card at you then. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Listen, you can go back, listen to the episodes. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman's perfect for everything, and I think he could have done it. It would have been, even when he does comedies, it would have been like a more realistic version of this character, if that means. Like 3-dimensional, it would have been this guy. And it would have been more depressing, and it might have been more funny.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
I like Philip Seymour Hoffman, though, a lot.
Do you want to move it on to Neal? I only have one if you want to go first.
I like my Neal, and I might be stealing it from you based off of your Burbs recasting, but I thought the whole time I was watching this, perfect kind of middle-aged, younger Tom Hanks, perturbed, the Burbs.
That works perfect. I love that. I didn't even cross my mind for some reason, but he's definitely going to have that Tom Hanks moment where he freaks out.
The whole time, yeah. I don't know how he could roll with the F-bombs at the car rental place, but I think he'd be fine.
He'd be great with it.
I think his he plays the Everman. He has a lot of range. He plays perturbed and annoyed more than anything. I think that's his best quality.
Hear me out. I have a modern version that I think is also very good at it. I could see you maybe thinking this could be a good Dell, but Ryan Reynolds, I thought
that for sure.
Annoyed stuff that he does in every movie, essentially be him doing that to Dell the whole time.
Yeah, he could do this. I think that the Neal character was so much. You could put a lot more perturbed straight man in there.
I could put John Hamm in there and it'd be fine.
It'd be less fine.
I still think he's funnier than you give him credit for.
I like John Hamm, but I don't think he's like this Swiss Army knife type guy.
I agree.
And it's because of the...
But do you know what he does? Plays a boring straight man well.
Yeah, but perturbed. Does he play perturbed well?
He has an attitude in the town.
Yeah, he does. I guess in today's standards, Jason Bateman would be a great...
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, he kind of plays that character.
I feel like
anyway.
this already maybe is a movie with him that I'm reading the title to.
And then, I mean, this may be trickling into our Mount Rushmore. Maybe it will, maybe it not. But I mean, they essentially did these movies. This is Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
This is the on the road movie, and those guys are the odd couple. One's slob and one's loud. So I didn't go Chris Farley. I didn't go David Spade, but they obviously had such great chemistry and worked well together.
Right. I agree. I stayed away from it for the next category. Before we get to it, do you want to hear some what ifs?
Yep.
I like this one. Surprised neither of us thought of it, but for the character of Neal, Rick Moranis was considered, but I can't remember, was busy or turned it down. And then also...
Rick Moranis with John Candy would have been fun.
I agree.
The only thing is, Rick Moranis would have gotten... Because he's got a more nerdy look, it almost seems like it'd be like punching down at him a lot more. Like
I get what you mean.
I kind of like it though.
I think it would be funnier just because they do have the chemistry and they could play off each other. But
I think
appearance-wise, it might not fit the character as well of being just a confident, annoyed businessman. Also, for the role of Neal, they thought of Chevy Chase. That could have worked.
He was in my, definitely could have done Chevy.
Michael Keaton also reached out. That could have worked for me as well. Then also for the role of Dell, they reached out to Dudley Moore. As I previously said, Bill Murray. And they did reach out to Robin Williams, all of which turned it down. I actually didn't know that before I did mine. I did have it written down, though. Apparently, I didn't read the end of the sentence.
The older I get, the more I think that you're wasting Keaton if you let him play the straight man.
I agree.
He'd be a better Dell. He's just funnier than that. You want to get nuts? Let him get nuts. That's all I'm saying.
That's our recasting for this week. Let us know if you have any other good ones out there. But we're going to move it on to Mount Rushmore. Top 4.
Top 4.
Mount Rushmore. Top 4.
Mount Rushmore, top 4. This week, we are doing our favorite road tripping movies. Because Mark's gone this week, we both get 2, so we're just going to be able to go back and forth. I'm going to kick this off This one's a nostalgic one for me. It's also just kind of a skating movie, but the movie Grind. The whole plot is they are trying to follow a famous skater around the country at skate competitions to get noticed. Hit big with me as a kid. Is it the best one? Of course not, but this is my list.
Okay, definitely wasn't going to take that.
I know.
So kudos to you. It wasn't even in my honorable mentions. It wasn't even an honorable mention. So you got that one. I am going to take one that maybe I'm a little older than you, but Tommy Boy, I would put it there.
You mentioned it enough that I was going to leave it for you. And
I'm sorry. I know I mentioned it a lot in the podcast, but it's hard for me not to. But
I mean, there are very comparable movies, and it's on my list. It's just I left it for you.
David Spade and Chris Farley, obviously Black Sheep. They probably would have made a handful of those, if he would have lived longer. But I'll go Tommy Boy. They've got good chemistry. They obviously have something. Maybe there's more or enough plot. I guess it's because they're working towards a common goal, whereas this one is necessarily just planes, trains, and automobile. We just got to get home, I guess. I don't know.
I get that. I have a few different ones here, and I think I'm going to probably waste it on another stupid one. Sex Drive. It's not overly funny, but there are a couple parts that have really made me laugh over the years, and I just caught it on syndication, kind of.
Pete Wentz, nice penis. Rumspringa.
I feel like we all learned about Rumspringa from that movie. Not the best option. It's my list.
Okay, so this one's It Happened One Night. It's a Frank Capra movie with Clark Gable and who's the
know the title, know the people in it. Just actually haven't seen it.
Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert. I don't know. It's really good. It's an on-the-road movie. She's like an heiress, and she's trying to escape from her dad, and he's a reporter, and he found her, and she's trying to get her home. Credited as the first screwball comedy. They got really good chemistry. It's a really good movie. It's like 90 minutes. It's super tight, but like it plays pretty modern. It's one of my favorite Frank Capra movies, and one of my favorite classic Hollywood movies. It might be on HBO's like TCM account.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, check it out. It's worth a watch. I mean, if you like classic movies. It's one of the first movies that swept like all four main categories at the Oscars: Best Actor, Supporting Actor, Movie, and Director.
Nice. That we have our honorable mentions. Probably movies I should have listed, such as National Lampoon's Vacation. That's probably one everyone had on their list that I should have had there.
Obviously, Vacation, we were going to say, but I wanted to think a little bit outside the box. Cameron wanted to go outside.
These are nostalgic ones for me. I mean, Road Trip, it's in the name. That one could have been there. It was Sex Drive or Road Trip for me, kind of,
I've got some more modern ones that are a little different, like Chef. It's the dad and the son.
I was going to throw out that one for Mark. Mark loves that movie, Chef.
I do like that movie.
I was going to throw out like also Little Miss Sunshine. That's a road tripping movie. It's a little heavier, not as much. It's funny. If you want just the throwaway ones, We're the Millers, RV, and there might be another one that's kind of exactly like that I can't think of off the top of my head. Oh, do you know what movie I always forget about? Paul with Seth Rogen, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost, where they have the alien. That's a road tripping movie.
That is 100% just a road trip movie. And I agree with you, though. It is pretty much, it's a little bit forgettable. You got Sly Stallone, over the top, right? He's a semi-driver, arm wrestling his way across the country with his son.
Clips and scenes, but I've actually never seen the whole thing.
He's got to get his son back home to his mom because he's like a weekend dad or every 3 weeks, and he's got to arm wrestle his way.
As one does.
And bonding ensues, you know what I mean?
Up in the Air, the George Clooney movie, that one's airplanes, but still kind of a traveling movie. I was throwing that one up there. What do you think?
It's loose, but I got you. It's not a road trip, but yeah, it's you're kind of stuck in limbo together. They bond like a on the road movie.
Another one I have that I thought was kind of questionable, but almost famous.
There's aspects of it.
That one was a little more of a. That one was a little different to me too, but I was seeing that on some list. But I do like it, so I want to mention it.
Movies I saw on list, but I disagree with. Even though it is a traveling movie, I don't think Into the Wild is a road tripping movie.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Because he's just off to the.
He's by himself, you know?
Yeah, he's finding himself, he's out there.
I'll tell you what sure is on honorable mention, a movie I had to see roughly, 100 times while it was at the Castle Theater, Wild Hogs.
Born to be wild. Doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo.
Not a great movie.
I guess on the flip side of that is Easy Rider is obviously a road tripping movie too.
I'll tell you a movie that's grown on me over the years. It's a comedy. I didn't like it that much initially.
Blues Brothers.
Oh, Blues Brothers, totally.
Well. That would be on there.
It's a comedy I did not appreciate, but Year One with Michael Cera and Jack Black, it's actually kind of funny. They're two cavemen that just worked kind of their way through history into huge civilizations and moments.
I saw it the one time, but
and it wasn't great, but there's a few really funny.
There's funny moments.
Honestly, it still gets me. There's a scene where Michael Cera is hanging upside down. He's chained to a wall, and he really has to pee. And then finally, Jack Black's like, "You just have to go." And he pisses all over his face, and it's just dripping down him. And then 2 seconds later, the guards let him down. Check it out. It's funnier than we all remembered, kind of. Let us know some of your favorite road tripping movies. We also have, things like Mississippi Grind, a movie I'm not sure if I'd like or not, but it's definitely a road tripping movie. Thanks for listening to our take on planes, trains, and automobiles. If you like what you heard, make sure you like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Please rate and review, share. That would help us greatly. If you want more content out there, check out the entire Majestic Jam Network, Urban Hermit, I'm Not Crazy, and the Highwire podcast. Till then, we'll check you on the next one.